Did
That was awesome. I hit the wrong one. Right underneath is the Chargers Texans one. Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
I was like, what's going on here?
Oh my bad.
Malfunction over here at the circuit board here or whatever.
Oh my, that's human error, guys. Just recap that. No big deal.
Yeah, let's do that again.
All right, here we go. Chargers Chiefs, guys. Chargers Chiefs. Here we go. Let's get it going.
Oh, did we finally get it
my
right?
gosh, that was classic. There we go.
Hey, we're working way ahead apparently on our channel here. So
yeah, that's right. It's still work in progress. No big deal.
Love it.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. All righty, guys. Yeah, keep on piling in, everybody. Cool. So we got a special guest today, guys. So Alex, why don't you maybe talk a little bit about you? And I know we got at the very bottom, this is where you can find Alex as well. Obviously, he covers the Chiefs. And so maybe tell us a little bit about yourself and, Chiefs fan, how'd that happen? And what are your thoughts?
Yeah. Well, thanks, guys. Appreciate you having me on the show and looking forward to, talking about this. What's up, DZ? I'm gonna call you DZ because that's how I say it. But looking forward to talking about this very big and probably what I think is going to be one of the better games of the season overall. Coming up this Thursday. But as Andrew said, I'm Alex Givens. I'm a Chiefs fan by blood, I guess. Missouri bred, and lived here pretty much my whole life outside of going to schools. Always been a Chiefs fan. It hasn't always been a fun time being a Chiefs fan, but at least as of late, it's been pretty awesome. So, things are always looking up when you got Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid kind of running the show with your team.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so I write on the side for Arrowhead Addict, so you can find I will not call you Zed. This is Murph, right? You can. I write cover the Chiefs for Arrowhead Addict. So I write various breakdowns of what happened in games. I mean, I'm sure most of your fans here would love to read some Chiefs content, right? But
yeah, what do you guys think about that, guys?
But yeah, so that's that. I write for Airhead Addict and have the Wild Wild West pod show. We go live on Wednesdays, 6:30 Central. You can do the rest of the times from there. We have kind of representatives for each AFC West team, and we just kind of discuss, week breakdown of every week on there. So.
Yeah, we had Chargers defense on our post game show as well too. So he was awesome. Dwayne was so cool, man. After the Raiders game.
Yeah, coach is a good dude, man. I like he's the calmest one out of the rest of the crew with the Wild West. Captain Jack's just a wild card. You don't know what that guy's.
He definitely is, boy. Off camera when we had our podcast, boy, I was like, yeah. This guy's spicy as hell, dude.
This guy's been through some stuff. I don't know what's going on, but all right.
Yeah, he was on TV a couple times too. I noticed that.
He made it on Big Cat. Barstool Big Cat. Freaking put him on his Twitter. I was like,
oh, really? Are you serious?
Yeah. Wow. I'm just scrolling through, getting through the Sunday feed, and it's like it says football guy, and it's just Captain Jack, just full pirate get up, and I was like, you got to be it's the Big Cat.
Wow.
Ouch, DZ. Ouch, DZ.
Yikes.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Guys, so again, whole point of this channel, guys, as fans, we want to engage with all the fans for sure, right? And look, we want to understand what other teams are going to do against the Chargers, how we're going to game plan against them, what we need to do to win. It's exciting to have that conversation. At least I enjoy it. I think that's really the whole point of this channel specifically. So again, Alex, thank you so much for joining. Really appreciate it. And by the way, you played football too, correct? Like, what position did you play?
Oh man, yeah, I played at a school called Graceland University. Is in the middle of nowhere in Iowa, not Memphis.
Okay.
Some people ask me that, and I'm like, yeah, they actually turned Elvis's house into a college. It's crazy. Just see how they get going with that. But yeah, played there, was a center, so had to do all the work with absolutely no recognition or glory. So it was, but some of the best years and best times of my life playing football, and that's why I like to watch the game from the trenches, offensive line, and and being a center, I had to always kind of assess defenses and make various calls pre-snap. So I kind of bring that into watching the games now, and try to sort of bring that insight, I guess, into my takes a bit. So,
yep, that's awesome. So, how long did you play for?
Well, I guess in college I played for 5 years. 1 year I blew my knee out though, so that didn't really count. But I played football from first grade until I guess 2016. That's when I retired.
Wow. Right.
That's when I had to hang them up. Just didn't get any
up.
feelers. No. Had an option to, I got an offer to play overseas in Germany.
Wow.
But that was kind of where I ended up going. It was it was one or the other. So kind of had to stop after college, but
yeah,
it was and unfortunately I'm not 6'5" and massive. So didn't think I was going to make it to the league, but it's worth a shot.
Well, glad you're here, man. So I really appreciate it. And guys, because this is literally this is game of the week, right?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah, easily
100%, right? This game has been touted all off season. Mahomes, Herbert, first game on, Thursday Night Football for Amazon. Boy, look, it's going to be huge, guys. It's going to be real huge. So a lot of jungle juice is going to be drank. I'm sure plenty of devil's lettuce across the country will be smoked and all that stuff, right? So it'd be really interesting.
Arrowhead will be popping. I know from experience.
Yes. Wait, so are you going to be at the game?
No, I wish. I have gone to previous Chargers Chiefs Thursday night games, but I mean, regardless, if you guys never been to Arrowhead Stadium, I highly recommend it. I'm not just saying that as a Chiefs fan, but from a full football just experience, because it is very much a college atmosphere in a professional setting, and people really go all out for going to games, and they did it even when they were the worst offense in the NFL. So you know what they do now, but they go even more now. But it's going to be a pretty poppin' place.
Yes,
they're opening up the parking lots at 11 in the morning.
Oh
wow.
There's a lot of
grilling, making some ribs on there.
Because it's kind of crazy when you Arrowhead itself is right next to where the Royals play, and all it is, it's just right off a highway. It's not even in KC, but it's a suburb of KC, if you will. And it's just right off a major highway, and it's probably those two stadiums, and then just acres of parking lot. So it's just set up for people to do nothing but sit there and just booze and grill all day. So,
oh my God.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's a vibe.
Yeah. I wish I was there. I know I'm going to be at the Chargers Jags game week 3. So I'll be there. Most of my family will be there. James will probably be the only one, maybe on the post game show. So that'll
might be the only dude talking. Yeah. I'll take control, dude. I got control here, guys. I can handle this. I can handle this.
You got this, bro. Okay. Let's get into it, guys. Let's get into it. So let's talk a little bit about offense, defense, and special teams. And guys, everyone in the chat, start throwing some questions out there. They can be directed towards us. They can be directed towards our guest, Alex, as well. We want to get into it, right? We want to understand what the game plan is. What do we think the Chiefs are going to try to do against the Chargers? And we're going to talk about what we think the Chargers are going to try to do against the Chiefs. And, so let's get into it. So we want to start with offense, guys. Is that what we're thinking?
Let's go. Let's go. That's where the fireworks start.
Tickets, man.
Yeah, special teams. Okay.
Yeah, special teams. Yeah, let's go offense. All right, guys. So let's let our guests go first. All right, let's talk offense. Give us some of your breakdowns on your offense. Hey, you guys lost Tyreek Hill, right? Everyone talks about that, and they all thought, wow, that's going to be a big, horrible situation. But, dude, you guys look pretty good week one. So, walk us through what your thoughts are on that.
I was, I'd say I said this earlier, but, first with the Bengals Steelers game, really that game pissed me off because it caused me they would not switch the game over where I'm at. So I had to watch that overtime debacle and miss the first 4 drives of the Chiefs game. But then, and I'm trying to pull it up on my phone, and even that one kept kicking me back to the Bengals. But once I was able to turn it on and see the score and obviously the red zone highlights of what had occurred up to that point, I was very much licking at the chops to get on some podcasts and tell people just how wrong they've been this whole offseason. I mean, I couldn't tell you how many times I've heard, well, they lost a lot of weapons, so they're just not going to be good. And it's like, they lost a weapon, and really, I don't think you can count out any team that has Andy Reid and Mahomes. But
exactly, 100%. 100%.
Like I said, what I've been saying to people, up to this point, I think that really the Chiefs' offense as a whole is going to be better in the long run for losing getting rid of Tyreek, because they're able to play a different type of way. I mean, it's the same concept, same passing attack, but they're able to spread the ball around more. And I really think that Mahomes, especially at certain points last year, was somewhat handicapped by having Tyreek and knowing that option was there and more likely than not always there, that it caused him to force the ball in certain situations. Whereas against Arizona, granted, this is kind of an apples and oranges comparison to other secondaries they're going to play, because Arizona's secondary is pretty sus. But
sure.
I mean, he completed the ball to 10 different receivers for 5 touchdowns. I think like 6 incompletions as a whole, and 360 yards. And just was spreading it around. I mean, everywhere. It was always someone open just because of the different attacks, whereas last year they offensively was the Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill show. And their third option was Demarcus Robinson, who didn't even make it past first cuts with the Raiders. So, that kind of tells you, what other options. So you kind of got rid of one piece, but then brought in 3 more. You just sort of retooled the attack. And, like I said, I know the Chargers defense as a whole is way better, especially the pass rush, but more so secondary wise than Arizona. But it was a nice breath of fresh air to see that they hit the ground running, and there was not any sort of growing pains with how is the offense going to look not having Tyreek there. I thought when the schedule first came out that Arizona game would be a lot more of a test than it was. And I think if they played Arizona later in the year, it would be more of a test, because that wasn't really the same Arizona team that you would see in week 8 when Hop's back and JJ Watt's maybe playing. Who knows? But I know that this Chargers game is going to be more of a test for them. But these games have always, at least as of recent,
always been competitive.
They've always been competitive shootouts, and like I said to Coach earlier, this is really going to come down to who has less turnovers and probably who has the ball in the final 2 minutes.
Agreed.
And that's it. I mean, that's how they've always gone. It's just how they shake out, no matter who starts out hot or not. I mean, last year in Arrowhead, when the Chargers won, I think the Chiefs started off with 3 straight turnovers and still had a chance to win in the fourth quarter. And then we go to SoFi, and Travis Kelce was with that dog, but
exactly.
But either way, I mean, this is going to be a very hard fought, very offensive shootout type, and it's going to just come down to who makes the least amount of mistakes.
Agreed.
The good thing for both teams, though, is they on paper week 1 didn't have to play someone that they were able to be pretty disciplined and that weren't overly tested by the defenses they had to play week one. So there's not like a whole lot of injuries, or it wasn't a whole lot of issues on really either offense, at least in week one. So I think both are pretty primed and ready to just kind of trade bows here.
I'll give you one update though on the Chargers. Looks like Allen is out for week one or week two.
I saw that. Harrison Butker's out for the Chiefs.
Yeah, so. That's true. Yeah, so you guys lost that as well. So that's interesting.
Justin Reed's going to be making kicks again. Is that what's going to happen?
Yeah, I know they signed a guy. Although it is great. I saw a tweet. This was just kind of funny. Maybe it's only funny to me because I'm a Chiefs fan. But so Justin Reed was mic'd up because the Chiefs kind of do their own sort of Hard Knocks YouTube show. It's pretty sweet. I think every team kind of does it now. But
yeah, they do.
So he's mic'd up, and Butker's telling him like, "Hey, my ankle's hurt. I don't think I'm gonna be able to kick." And they go over to Reed, and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna need you to kick." He's like, "All right, bet." And then he just like boots it out the end zone, makes the PAT. And then this tweet was like, here you have the Cardinals who had to put in a stipulation in their franchise quarterback's contract that he had to watch so much film. And then you have the Chiefs who are so over-prepared that their safety can kick PATs for him. And I was like, yeah, I guess it kind of explains the difference there, the championship culture. To some
Agreed.
Yeah. Well,
Agreed.
I mean, so
they signed the kicker.
They did. Okay. So
it's Amendola, I think, is the kicker that ended up signing.
Amendola?
Yep. Yeah, Danny. No, I'm kidding.
Danny Amendola? Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say Danny did. Yeah, is he a safety? Yeah, so Pat Mahomes got 360 yards, man. And you guys, Kelsey had a great game, 121 yards. I mean, you got Sky Moore. He only had one reception, but boy, he distributed the ball. So that's good to see. I mean, again, Mahomes is going to be Mahomes. Now, I will say this. The Cardinals are pretty bad defense. By the way, this should have been the score for the Chargers-Raiders game, in my opinion.
100%.
I really felt like we should have smoked them.
Yeah.
110%. I was so frustrated. In fact, if you guys haven't seen the video I posted today, watch the video. Let's talk a little about Chargers offense. Lombardi, my God, I was so pissed off at him second half. And again, Alex, we talked about this. Like we talked about this right before we jumped on. I get a little frustrated because I really do feel like Lombardi kind of handcuffs, Herbert a little bit. Yeah. And he admitted that he was doing run, pass way too much the second half. And so I really hope that they just say, no, screw it. All gas, no brakes, and go for it. So, again, I'm a little frustrated about that. James, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, and for this game specifically, and I don't really even think – I mean, it should be that way for every single game, bottom line. I mean, you want to destroy your opponent. I'm sorry, but you just want to destroy your opponent. But this game specifically, it could easily be a game that ends up going 44-41 or something crazy like that, some wild score. And it's going to get a point to where we're just going to have to play no defense, just throw the ball and just see what happens. And whoever gets the ball last wins kind of thing.
Yep.
And, that's going to be a interesting thing to see if Lombardi changes up his game plan when we're kind of ahead, because that is a frustrating thing. And we've talked about that even in the offseason, that we feel Lombardi kind of finds a way just to slow down the game and decides to not keep his foot on the gas. We always talk about all gas, no brakes, baby.
No brakes.
That's what they need to do this game. And I mean, we're going against two guys that could be MVP candidates this year, Mahomes and Herbert.
Yeah. 100%.
This is a massive, massive game for that MVP candidacy. And also, this is also an AFC West game too. This is a big thing. Like, I don't know, Alex, if you've ever guys have really talked about how many games it'll be required to be able to win the division, but we say this division could essentially be a 3-3 kind of division. But if you really get to 4-2, you'll probably win the division. Mind you,
100%.
That's only 6 games out of 11 more games.
Yeah, but I mean, that's all that matters though for the playoffs, right? Is your divisional games, and
100%.
You got to win those. Plus, it's just kind of these very games themselves. I feel like the Chiefs and Chargers always it doesn't matter. They're gonna split, or they're gonna find some way to split. And I really feel like there's never been a clean sweep in terms of Chiefs Chargers in quite some time.
Yeah.
But
I think it's been the last 2 seasons that we've been basically a 500, series between us. And so we've been 2-2 against you guys. And it's been just great games. It's been a phenomenal games. I mean, even when Herbert started his career against the Chiefs too, when he got
because they
thrown in the
punctured
game.
Tyrod's lung or whatever.
Right.
I'm
So
convinced that's an inside job.
yeah. Herbert made the call. Hey, just make it happen. Get him out of the game. I need to get in there. But yeah, even when he came into that game, that was a phenomenal game. I was like, I don't understand why Herbert's starting right now. Everybody was just completely shocked. Even the commentators were shocked. But that was an enjoyable game to watch. I mean, it was incredible to see the birth of Justin Herbert now as being one of the top quarterbacks in the AFC West and potentially in the NFL too. At least I feel top 5 kind of guy.
He's up there. Yeah, he's up there.
But one thing I was going to bring up for the Chiefs too, just to talk about your kind of wide receiving core. I know obviously Travis Kelce, your tight end, he's your number one guy, like 100%. But then you got your Valtez Scantling, you got Juju, you got Sky Moore is a guy that I've kind of been pretty high on. I looked at him a lot through the draft, and I think he's a good speedy guy, which I feel could end up being that Tyreek Hill kind of guy. But I know you talked a little bit about spreading the ball. Do you still feel that will be same strategy with this game, or do you feel like, hey, it's going to be really keyed on obviously I feel Travis Kelce will probably get 10 to 12 throws at least.
Yeah.
But who do you think really the wide receiver one of this core?
Yeah. I mean, well, I think from watching last game, they spread the ball around, but it was pretty evident that Juju was like the number one receiver in the sense of who the targets run through. I mean, he had 8 targets to Kelce's 9. But you also got to kind of factor in that Mahomes didn't play the full game. So some of those numbers are a bit skewed because they obviously kind of put the brakes on. And in fact, they switched. They made me watch the Raiders-Chargers game because they took Mahomes out. They switched the coverage.
Oh, really? They're like, game over.
Before the game was, they're like, this is boring. Like, sorry. We thought this would be more entertaining. But, I mean, first and foremost, the passing attack as a whole runs through Kelce just because that dude, for whatever reason, just always open. It baffles me. But really, he's just for how big of a dude he is and how slow he looks like he's moving, he's like actually real freaking quick at his first cut. I mean, he was just cooking Isaiah Simmons Sunday. But, Derwin James is not, Isaiah Simmons is not Derwin James. And Derwin James didn't play in the last game when Kelce, Kelce took that ball to the house in OT to win it. So I think that they're going to try to go through Kelce, but I think if Derwin's playing and is fully healthy, you're going to have to be able to spread the ball around, especially if JC Jackson's not playing, because then there's going to have to be someone's going to have to get open, if they can sustain Mac or Bosa, really, I mean, either one if they could just sustain the pressure. And I think if JC Jackson's not playing and they can sustain the pressure, then they'll be able to spread the ball around. And really, it's because I just don't think that there'd be enough matched up to shut everyone down in that sense. But it's kind of a catch-22 because the Chiefs are going to have to be able to pressure Herbert to really, especially with McDuffie being out, to really, be able to kind of have the same success defensively.
Right. We'll chat about obviously defense here shortly too, but I know DZ is going to bring up the idea and the question about your guys' run game with your improved O-line. I read that one of your right guards ended up coming out of the game last game. I don't know what the status is with him, if he's going to be playing. I don't know if you guys it was one of those right guards that you disliked.
No, he's a beast, dude. Trey Smith was a fifth or sixth round pick, and he was one of the highest rated rookies last year. But he was fifth or sixth round pick out of Tennessee because he had like a messed up. He had something with the failed physical or some component with his heart. So teams didn't want to take him, and then KC took him, and he is a dog. And he had an ankle. It was him and Bucker were kind of the only two. I mean, outside of McDuffie, who was put on the IR, were the only two questionable options.
Got it. Got it.
But yeah, Smith's playing, Bucker's not.
Sure.
So full force offensive line. With that
Good.
though, Andrew Wiley's at right tackle. So
Nice.
you know, it's not good.
He's not that great.
I mean, he's fine in moments, but he's a very good, you know.
We'll put Mac on that side.
Yeah, he's a good.
We'll just overload that side.
We'll put
You know?
Mac over there. Don't worry about that.
To
Yeah,
start
we got
a few
it.
games, but he's not good enough to be a full season starter.
Okay.
And you know, he'll have his moments. You know, he had to start. I think he got his first start last season against the Raiders and shut down Max Crosby, and then the next week just looked terrible. You know, so that's the difference with what the Chargers did. If this was last year, I wouldn't be that worried because it's really it was really just Bosa. And make sure you got Bosa in tune, you're good. But you know, now
it's a different story.
Bosa and Mac, and as much of the offseason hype wanted to be that Mac's washed, he's definitely not. So
he definitely showed out this last game. You know, the one thing too, I watched the Cardinals game. I kind of watched a condensed version on NFL Plus, little plug in there. You know, throw me a free subscription over there, by the way.
No, let's go on NFL, please. What's up? Get it.
I watched a condensed version of the Chiefs game. And, you know, the thing is, though, they didn't give up any sacks at all still.
No pressures at all. I mean, not really any pressure.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I think there was like 6 quarterback, like, hurry ups, but like nothing really major. But I do look at the Cardinals and I live in Arizona, so I hear a little bit from these Cardinals fans out here and everything. And they always have this high hopes, even to say last year when they were like 9-0 or whatever, and then they had a slump and then they barely got in the playoffs and got blown out. I said, hey, they're a young team. They're gonna learn the hard way and lose in the first round of the playoff. They're like, no, we're going. What happened? The Rams blew them up, right? Like, hey, listen to me here. But anyways, besides the point, I don't feel like the Cardinals are that good of a team. I feel that's kind of the reason why they also put them on the second half Hard Knocks season for HBO because it might be a little disastrous. But anyways, I think their O-line and their D-line aren't really that good all around. And I do think that them losing Chandler Jones last year was probably a big miss for them too. So not to say he did anything to us because our O-line held Chandler Jones for nothing. No touches.
Dude. Who's that?
No.
He was horrible. He did not.
But also note too that you know, Marcus Golden and JJ Watt, both of who were supposed to be the Cardinals, you know, premier pass edge rushers, didn't play.
Big difference.
That comes with a little bit of a caveat in that, like, they weren't really tested because I couldn't even tell you who was out there.
Right,
so,
right.
You know,
and just to go back to our O-line too. I mean, our O-line did a really good job. I mean, kept Herbert clean. Herbert looked great in the pocket, able to step out, step into the pocket when necessary. I felt like his foot control was way better than I've ever seen with him. And that's one thing he emphasized a lot is how he steps around in his footwork, basically. And he did a phenomenal job with this last game and no sacks. And we have basically a whole new right side of our O-line with Zion Johnson and Trey Pipkins. And I watched highlights again of them and they were just steamrolling people. And
Max Crosby, I don't think had like 2 or 3 pressures. And then
they getting held on game.
Yeah.
PIs.
Penalties.
Actually, you know what's funny about that? It was a clean game too. I think the Chargers and the Raiders were almost dead. They were dead last in penalties. And I think they only gave up 2 penalties each in that game. It was amazing. So
pretty clean.
Couple questions here. So before we go to defense, because I know everyone wants to talk about defense, Keenan Allen is out. Josh Palmer will be the slot wide receiver moving forward. I'm going to give another little caveat on the defensive side when we go a little later on, but it will be Palmer time. So it'll be time to see our second-year wide receiver step up and see what he can do with Allen gone. And I'll tell you right now, you cannot replace Keenan Allen, okay?
No.
The thing about I watched the game probably 3 times now, and he is so good at just finding a hole. When Herbert goes off script and just runs around, he goes, okay, I'm going to go this way. I'm going to get myself open. I'm going to find a spot. And this is what Kelsey does very well, Alex, he finds a spot and sits. And that's also what Gates did. You know, Gates was a basketball player. He just knew where to sit. Yeah, box out. Exactly correct.
Exactly.
And Allen's very good at that. Plus, he's a lot faster, so on and so forth. By the way, there was a question also about an injury with Mahomes' arm. It sounds like it's a non-throwing
I
arm.
meant to answer that. Yeah, it was on his left wrist.
Left wrist. Okay.
Yeah, so he hurt it like first or second drive. It was actually handing the ball off with his right hand the whole time.
Okay.
Oh, weird.
But yeah, it as far as what I've seen, it's not, nobody's really concerned about it. It's just like tape it up and wrap it, and it'll be fine. Nothing crazy. But I guess that goes to show that he did get pressured at least at one point.
Yeah, right.
But I think on the play it was like a rollout, and the guy came in late, and he put his his wrist down to brace himself, which you never do. So it's kind of on him. But also to add to Keenan Allen not being there, I think Keenan Allen is one of the best, if not the best, route runner in the league.
Yes, 100%.
Because like you said, he's not. I mean that he obviously is, because he puts up numbers, and it's not like he runs a 4.4 or
It's a good route
has
runner.
any sort of he's just, like you said, always open because he's so crisp with his routes.
And that's 90% of what you need, because most of these. Okay, I'll give you a good example. I watch so much breakdown video, but and it's funny because James and Kyle, we always talk about this. I want to start doing breakdown videos. Like, okay, they're running this play. This is what they're supposed to do. And the thing about Keenan Allen is he understands where he needs to sit, and he understands where he needs to be open. And most of these routes that are run are timing routes. I remember sitting on a plane on a business trip, and I was sitting next to a guy who was an actual coach, quarterbacks coach. And I made a comment about I think it was a BYU quarterback. I actually live in Utah, so I watch BYU and Utah games quite a bit. I think it may have been Zach Wilson, actually. And I said, yeah, Zach's kind of short, and he goes, it doesn't really matter as long as he's accurate. In the NFL, a big part of it is accuracy and getting your timing. Yep. Look at Drew Brees, 100%.
And so, perfect. Yep.
So it's really interesting. But see, the interesting thing is you got someone like Patrick Mahomes, who's bigger than he looks. And then you got someone like Justin Herbert.
Who's huge. Herbert's just an alien, man.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like
a Josh
he had one throw. I can't remember who was pressuring him, but they were like pulling him down backwards, and he got the throw off. And like he was like kind of like split legged, and I was just like, this guy's on another level now.
Yeah. He's
in my
enjoyable
opinion,
to watch.
It's Mahomes, Herbert, and Josh Allen are all like kind of
amazing.
Well, I guess you got to put Brady there with him, but
the goat. Yeah, you got to give it to him. You got to give it to him. Well, let's switch to defense, guys. I know that's a topic that, look, I personally think, just right out of the gate, whichever defense plays better is going to win this game, period.
Yeah.
Because I think it's going to boil down to takeaways. What do you guys think in the chat, right? About the defense? Best defense wins. What are your general thoughts? Because I think offensively, both teams are going to score points, right? This is going to be a shootout for sure. But which defense is going to step up and make it happen? Now, again, I think the Chiefs did really well against Arizona. Arizona also got 14 points in the fourth quarter, which is pretty much junk, points. I can't even remember the fourth quarter. Did they pretty much have their scrubs in at that time? What was that like?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, Mahomes, I don't think Mahomes played the entire fourth quarter. So.
Okay. Yeah. Yep.
It was garbage.
Prevent defense. Yep. Just let the rookies out there.
It was garbage time, dude.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. But so just goes to show you that the Chiefs have gotten better. So, and that's a good thing.
And I think that's where Isaiah Pacheco got a lot of his extra yards, was in that garbage time, more or less, which he had a great game.
Oh, yeah. He came out with like 14 fantasy or 12 fantasy points. I was like, what?
Yeah, where did he come from all of a sudden? Yeah.
No, but on the defensive side of the ball, as much as I was talking about how good the offense looked, they certainly revamped the defense as well, and sort of had a youthful movement with the amount of draft picks they spent on defense, and just sort of the turnover. That was kind of a big thing coming into the year for me, was how is the secondary going to look? Because when you looked at the roster last year, outside of L'Jarius Sneed and really that was it. In Thornhill, they lost everyone else that played, in very significant snaps for them. So, but against Arizona, defense looked pretty pretty fast, pretty a lot more athletic than it's looked in the past, especially in the secondary. There was actually a couple plays that there was one route specifically that was, Marquise Brown was wide open, just steaming down the hash in the middle, and Juan Thornhill closed in on it. And I think if you look at that play last year with Daniel Sorensen there, it's a touchdown. So, they also looked pretty solid on defense, but at the same time, like I said, it wasn't the entirety of Arizona offense, and it wasn't, a peak form Arizona offense. So certainly going to be more tested playing against Herbert and just the Chargers offense in general. That's always seemed to have been pretty successful against KC, no matter how they've played defensively heading into it. But I expect, both teams are going to try to apply pressure early and often because, like we've pretty much both agreed on, this game's going to come down to just who controls the ball better and who has less turnovers. And you're not really going to create those situations unless you're blitzing a lot and putting pressure. And then it's going to come down to really which QB is more poised to not make a bad mistake in a bad time. Mahomes had, I think, two or three picks last year. Granted, I call them picks because two of them for sure were Tyreek's fault. But in that game alone in Arrowhead last year, they turned the ball over 3 straight times, and they had to really fight for it to stay into it and have a chance to win. So,
let me ask you this question, Alex. I was thinking a lot about this, right? You saw a little bit of game one. You saw what Mac did: 3 sacks, 5 pressures, 1 strip sack, and Bosa had a great game too. The funny thing is, our defensive line's improved, right? So Sebastian Joseph, I remember they talked a little bit about how we only gave up 60 some yards rushing total to the Raiders.
A huge improvement for us.
Huge improvement. Absolutely. What are the Chiefs going to do, in your opinion? You're obviously a nose tackle or center. You were on the line.
How dare you?
Right. Sorry, not nose tackle. Yeah, but you played on the line, right? And so, what are they going to do to stop Mac and Bosa? Do you put 2 tight ends on each side and chip them? You have the running backs go out and chip. What is your thought? You're the defensive head coach for the Chiefs. What are they going to do to stop Mac and Bosa?
Yeah, no, I think you're kind of hit it right on the head with sort of the 3. I think, especially in the Arizona game, you saw them go a lot of 3 tight end sets, but then they were running a lot of the same pass concepts they would do if it was 3 wide receivers. So I think you're going to see them kind of stay in that similar sort of scheme. Then you also saw McKinnon. McKinnon had a few highlights from his chip blocks in pass pro. So I think that's how you're going to see him play. But Andy Reid also is kind of a screen pass, get the ball out quick, small ball type of guy to set up a big play. So I think you're just going to see him really come out, and if they even come out in these 2-3 tight end sets, I think you're going to see him do a lot of quick game, get rid of the ball real quick, just to sort of try to open up something deep later on. I would like them to run the ball, but I always say that, and they never do.
Sounds like a true lineman over there.
I just running the ball,
lineman over there. Come on, now I want to smash these fools.
I wrote a whole article, but that was, in my opinion, the reason they lost to the Bengals in the championship game they just did not have any sort of, where we were talking about the Chargers having too much game management in situations. The Chiefs don't have enough in certain moments. And want to keep throwing the ball and not have long sustained drives and keep running the ball. But that's also not really Andy Reid's style. So, but I do expect to see a lot of 2 to 3 tight end sets. Plus, they kind of have a tight end, Jody Fortson, that they really like, who's not actually really a tight end. He was a receiver in college that is just kind of a beast in the red zone. But so you see them kind of do these sets to bring guys like that into the fold more. But I see them kind of utilizing that to try to slow up at least one half of the pass rush. But there's going to be some sacks in this game. It's just going to happen. So
Well, I was going to say for your young guns over there. So Trent McDuffie's out, I believe, on this game, correct?
He's on the IR, so he's out for 4 weeks.
Done. Okay, he's done for a while.
I think 4 weeks, hamstring or something. Yeah.
Okay.
Apparently
and then you got
then
you have your other end too. Your other George Karlaftis. Is that how you pronounce his last name? Karlaftis. I can't pronounce his last
George,
name.
Man.
Yeah.
Experience George.
He had I think 6 pressures from what I was hearing from the last game too.
Yeah, he did well.
He played really well. I think he had 4 or 5. I know Chris Jones and Mike Dana both had 6, and they led the league in QB pressure. I mean, however they measure that metric. And then Karlaftis was 3rd or 4th on there. But yeah, so I mean, they had a lot of pressure against Kyler Murray, which I think at least while Arizona's offensive line and offense in general is probably not that good, Kyler Murray's pretty good, and especially pretty good at escaping pressure. So I think those, I said that's why I preface it however they measure that, because I don't really know how they look at that and what they look at and call a hurry. But I would think that having 6 against someone like Kyler Murray is a pretty good signal that there was at least consistent pressure to be had, and that he wasn't able to escape, and they kind of kept him into the pocket. So if they could do that with Herbert, and I mean same for the Chargers. I mean, if either team can keep the QB from going rogue and making something sweet happen, I'd say it'd be a pretty good day.
Yeah. It's such an interesting thing, because for us coming into this, and now it seems like JC Jackson's about a 50-50 chance for this game. So we kind of base, and us Charger fans, we look at that Raider game and we think, man, we're a pretty solid defense, multiple sacks, multiple picks, and we didn't even have JC Jackson in the game. So we don't even know the full potential of this defense, of where it's going to be. And so it's exciting for us to think we could have a whole nother weapon, a whole cornerback number 1 for us on the field right now. And, as our defense, Derwin James is going to blanket Kelsey, which he generally does most of the time. And he does a great job versus tight ends. If you look at the stats against Waller and Kelsey, he's like one of the best in the league since 2018. And he looks extremely healthy this year too. He looks like a faster guy, just seems like he's ready for the game. I mean, that last game, and he got the first sack of the year, and just looked phenomenal all over the field. And when he wasn't on Waller, guess what? He was on Drew Tranquil. Drew Tranquil let him have Waller get his yards and his catches and everything. It just changed at that point. And even to go back to the last game we played against the Chiefs in overtime, that's when Derwin James was injured, and then it was Drew Tranquil covering Kelsey, and then that pretty much ended the game at that point. So and you guys won.
That was sick.
Yeah,
I was
wild.
Very hyped up when that happened, because I
that
thought
was wild.
I'm like, they're gonna lose twice. I'm like, this is done. And then it's like Kelsey. I'm like, what?
Yeah. That was good for you guys. It was another heartbreaker for us, but we live with it, but
I think you're right. I think one of the things you're going to see, I think this game, you're going to see really the 5-1-5 defense. We talked a lot about nickel. Yeah. I think you're going to see a lot of man coverage and the 2 high safeties, right? I think you're going to have 3 defensive linemen. Try and contain Mahomes as much as you possibly can. Do not let him go off script. And then ask him about cheeseburgers. Andy Reid loves the cheeseburgers, boy. He never met a cheeseburger he didn't love. I tell you what, Andy Reid, boy, he's all about them.
He is, he's on them cheeseburgers. He does.
Isn't Mahomes a big fan of Whataburger?
Oh, Whataburger. He
brought one. Mahomes not only brought a Super Bowl to Kansas City, he brought a Whataburger. So
Whataburger, exactly.
That's how you know that guy.
He's a true American hero. He's a true American hero.
He's a lifer, man. He's done so much for the area already.
Right.
Yeah. So I think a big part is, and so this is what I think we're gonna run. We're gonna run a 5-1-5. So we're gonna do a lot of nickel. And I think it's gonna be a lot of man defense on the Chargers side. I don't think we're gonna play a lot of zone. And I tell you what, it's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out against Mahomes. The off-script stuff is the stuff I'm scared about with Mahomes, for sure. Because here's the thing. The whole point of Brandon Staley's defense is to collapse the line, don't give him any gaps, keep him in the pocket, and then your edge rushers are going to come in and give him the Iron Maiden. That's what we call it. And Kyle came up with that, the Iron Maiden, Mac and Bosa. But Mahomes is slippery, man. He's going to get out, and okay, where do you go there from there? And that's just going to be really tough. So,
and man, he can just throw it from really any position. Like he doesn't have to be in any sort of. Well, Herbert's Herbert's certainly shown he can do that, and I feel like he's kind of done it more and more as sort of his time's gone on. But both of them are really ridiculously good at getting out of the pocket, buying time, and being able to throw it really from any platform. And that's why you've seen both teams really be so successful in the past couple of years, because they both have that ability, and both receiving cores are just really in tune with that on where to be, when they do break a script. So.
I think that's the interesting point. Well, this is a good question. Steve just threw one out here, right, guys? So, guys, I want you guys to throw out questions.
No, we can't. I think you already knew the answer too, Steve.
That immediately. No.
Let's not kid yourself, Steve. You knew that one already.
Hey, but I will say this. Okay, actually, we talked about this a couple of times on the Bowl Pros, right? Look at like Bill Belichick compared to Brandon Staley. They are completely different coach. That's old school and new school, 100%, right? Bill Belichick is kind of like, hey, man, I'm the guy. You listen to me. You do what I'm going to say. And if you ever watch any of the postgame, locker room conversations with Brandon Staley and the team, he's very positive and he just engages. He's very much a player coach. Having said that, he is young, and I think he's made some bad decisions. And again, going back to the whole Joe Lombardi conversation, Joe needs to call a good game. If he does not call a good offensive game, it's going to be tough for us, guys. Yeah. It just will. Lombardi, I'm just frustrated with him. He's too vanilla. What are your thoughts? Put your thoughts down below in the chat.
I think they're both big, I know, isn't Staley a big metrics guy? Like he's a
analytics.
Very analytics. And actually, why he goes for it on fourth down and stuff like.
Yep.
And yeah, I don't think. Obviously he's not a bad coach, right? Because you guys got rid of Anthony Lynn to bring
way conservative too,
and he's changed. And I think you brought in the right guy for where the team was going and sort of changing of the guard at QB. But I agree. It's kind of, I think it's just the differences, just the overall, just the wisdom and experience. Whereas Reed's been in all those situations, so he kind of knows, what he needs to do. Whereas you see even Hackett with old Richie's team,
there you
didn't
go.
know what the hell to do at the end of that Monday night game, and he's just a newer coach. So I think Staley is a good coach, but I don't think he's a better coach than Andy Reid right now. And
and the one thing too with Brandon Staley, he actually got the job because when he came into the interview, he literally said, "This is how you beat the Chiefs, and this is what the game plan will be," and that's what pretty much got him the job. And so the big thing that he ended up saying is like, hey, we go for it on fourth downs and we make sure that we put the pressure on them, which it's going to be interesting because that last game, we only went on a fourth down one time versus the Raiders. So we'll see if they do it again this year. Because they ain't like eggs on burgers.
Yeah.
Hey,
okay. So
I don't know if I want to be
like
called
eggs on burgers,
Reed's
guys. Come on now.
Yeah.
That's a breakfast burger.
Royale with cheese.
A Royale with cheese. Hey, you know what, guys? And again, but you're right though. You're still talking about old school coach versus new school, right? And to your point, Alex, Brandon Staley's all about analytics, and I so I don't know if you guys know this, but our background, James and I are both in technology sales, right? So Alex is a lawyer. So if you want to sue anybody, Alex, why don't you put your information down there? So if you want to sue somebody, call up Alex.
Unfortunately, I represent the people that get sued. So
God, okay.
You get sued. Let me know.
Cool. But let me explain analytics for you guys, like just really briefly. The cool thing about it is, and it's interesting that AWS now is becoming such a huge sponsor for football. The whole point is you can say, hey, I run this offense, and you plug in your offensive scheme against this defense, which is what they're running. It'll spit out, okay, statistically speaking, these plays work best. This run play, this pass play. it can do that. It can crunch that information for you and spit out very specific things that you can do to win. Now, again, obviously people, matchups, this corner's this way, this corner's that way, so on and so forth. But my point is, that's really what analytics does. And that's really the whole Brandon Staley mentality moving forward. So definitely old school, young school.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see if he even tries to do the fourth down. A lot of analytics type stuff this year.
Do not do it, Vlad. I'm kidding. It's not that bad, but it is a grind.
It is a grind. All right, well, let's go on to the last part of this discussion, and then we'll just keep going. Keep the questions coming, guys. Let's talk about special teams. Everyone's favorite topic, guys. All right, well, let's talk. Let's have our esteemed guest here talk about his special teams moving forward. This might be where the game is a little tilted.
This could be a game. I mean, it actually could have. Really, in all reality, I mean, special teams always plays a pretty huge part in the outcome of a game because you mess up something on a punt or anything really, and you give them a good field position, you're pretty screwed, especially in this game. But like I said, Harrison Butker, the Chiefs kicker, is not playing. They signed, I don't even know his first name. It's not Danny Amendola, but some Amendola, bro, to kick. But they also have Justin Reed. They have Justin Reed, who did kicking at least in the Arizona game, or at least at the kickoffs, and was booting them out of the back of the end zone. But I wouldn't be shocked if special teams played a factor to some degree in the outcome of this game, especially with a new kicker and especially with extra points. That's all kind of about the rhythm of it. And if you got a new guy who's only been there. I mean, hell, they signed him either Sunday or Monday, so he's really only been kicking for like 2 days.
That's rough, man. Yep.
And you get in there and you can't make extra points, and you end up losing, 22-20 or 21-20 because you didn't make it. So I think with the fact that Butker is not out there, at least as it comes to sort of the range that we knew we had with Butker versus the range that we think we might have with this Amendola guy. You're going to have to sort of play differently, at least offensively, in some situations where you would maybe not be so upset if you're facing, 4th and 8, and because you can kick a field goal. You might have to consider if you're in 4-down territory going for it because you know that the guy's not making it. He hasn't been there long enough to know. So I think more than it would be if Butker was playing, I think special teams is going to be a big part of this game. And it's going to come down to, just if the Chiefs have to make real drastic changes due to the fact that they don't have their guy out there booting them.
Yeah, and your kicker, your punter also did really well. Tommy Townsend, he kicked it twice for an average of 54 yards. That's
he punted 2 times, man. That's a hell of a job, right? Like $500K to go watch a football game and kick a ball twice.
Yeah, so we got a new punter, J.K. Scott. He actually got a game ball. He kicked one in the 2-yard line. I think he averaged around 50 yards a punt, so he did well.
He's a pretty touted punter, isn't he? From
he came from Bama.
Yeah. How I knew that, I don't know, but
he looks like a skinny. He's about the same height as Justin Herbert. Looks like a skinny Justin Herbert.
Wow, that's
actually swapped jerseys in training camp too, and threw people off a little bit. It was pretty hilarious.
Yeah, exactly. Well, looks like we got a special guest coming in here real quick. Hey, hold on just a sec, guys. We got a special guest. We may have to change looks here real quick. Hold on. Got a special guest. He made it.
A new player has entered the chat.
A wild bro has appeared.
Yeah, I love it.
We're one bro down. Here he is.
Yes,
we're full of bros, right? We're full of bros now. I love it.
There you go.
No, so we're just talking about special teams. Your favorite conversation here, Kyle.
Yes, sir.
Very excited,
man. Hey,
you kick the ball,
Yeah, no. I mean, freaking Ryan Ficken has been amazing for the Chargers so far this year.
I'll tell you what.
And then, DeAndre Carter, he freaking lit it up. He was doing way more than just being a returner, So, yeah.
Yeah, and that's an interesting fact of it too, because I mean, going back to J.K. Scott, he hung up a ball for almost 6 seconds in the last game.
6 seconds.
That's crazy.
That's insane to see something like that. So, But the one thing too with our field goal kicker with Dustin Hopkins, I feel like he's off and on every now and then. If we have to hit over a 50-yard field goal, that's a little tough
it's
for
not,
us. So.
Who was the guy you used to have? Badgley?
Badgley, the money Badgley.
At least not him anymore.
Yeah.
Well,
we had Younghoe Koo for a while.
We had Younghoe Koo.
And he was terrible. And now he's like an all-pro kicker now. So
yep.
We just lose out. But
good thing we didn't draft him.
I do think the special teams could have a big factor to this game, obviously, because you guys have a new kicker now. So it's kind of a new system, new situation. I mean, he's only a couple days into the job,
But like I said, with the rhythm of it, I mean, even in that Steelers-Bengals game, you saw it when they had to switch the box snapper out, and then Evan McPherson, who was like, people calling him the ice in his veins kicker of the playoffs, just shivs one because we had a new snapper. So, you're talking to something as simple as a 3-yard little snap changes the whole outcome of a kick. How's it going to be when you're changing the kicker as a whole? So
100%. It changes the game. Right. And again, so again, we talk a lot about this too. And we also talk about Brandon Staley being outcoached by Andy Reid too. And I think a big reason, again, last season, we've talked about this so many times on our podcast, a big reason why we went for it so often on fourth down is because our special teams was so bad last year. So bad. We had Long as our punter. He was not good. Our long snapper was not great. Didn't get the ball out fast. Now we got J.K. Scott, who is a real weapon. I don't see us going for it on our own 20th yard line, right? Anymore.
Maybe if the analytics say you should.
Go for it.
But again, it just goes to show you that it really makes a big difference when you have the right people, and your special teams is also another portion. Because Brandon said, I always talk about the 3 phases of the game: offense, defense, and special teams. You got to have all 3 to win. So it's exciting to see that now. So it's pretty exciting. 100%.
The big thing about this game is this really is going to show how competitive both of these teams are going to be, because they're both talented in their own ways. I mean, we have a lot of hype where we came into the season because we got like J.C. Jackson, Kyle Van Noy, Sebastian
loaded up on defense.
We loaded up our defense, and then even throwing in Sony Michel late as a signing after a cut from the Dolphins, another guy that's won 2 Super Bowls with 2 different teams. We've added these guys that just kind of create and we've been saying in the offseason, creating a championship winning culture. And our issue was we didn't have a championship based defense. And I feel like we have a good chance to being that. So this is a great test for the both of us. And I can't wait. I can't wait to watch this game.
I want to see a competitive game. 100%.
I'll see it when I believe it.
One way or the other. I want to see something competitive.
That's right, Alex. But I was going to say too, I mean, the reason why we went for it on fourth all the time is 2 reasons. Number one is our defense last year was not fitting Staley's scheme at all either, though. So
bad.
Very true.
It wasn't just our punting unit that was causing the problem. It was the fact that we literally couldn't stop the ball, so we couldn't rely on the defense to get the stop there. So we were like, you know what, we got to use our best weapon is Justin Herbert. And that's that.
Yeah, probably just told him hey, just throw a pick real deep.
I mean, you could just do that. It would be the same thing. Yeah.
I will say this too. I watched some video. Again, I watched quite a bit on just kind of recap videos of the Chiefs game and also the Charger game. But Mahomes and Herbert are very similar. They made a lot of the same throws.
Very similar.
Yeah.
And they're very good at getting the ball into tight windows. And again, you could argue most quarterbacks in the NFL have to do that, but Derek Carr didn't do that last week, right, against the Chargers at all.
Derek Carr can't do that.
Yeah, like I've said this 100 times over. He's a subpar quarterback. He's top 15 at best.
I'm pretty sure I called Derek Carr like the great value of QBs. Like he's the Kroger brand. He's the Kirkland brand. Well, Kirkland's actually good. I don't know.
Kroger's good.
I like that.
Yeah.
He's a great
generic
brand.
store-bought.
Yeah, there you go.
That's fantastic. I love it.
Oh my gosh.
No, but I mean, like I said, in terms of just overall talent throwing the ball, how they can throw it, and just how they can move the ball through the air offensively, Herbert and Mahomes are just sort of leaps and bounds ahead of the other two in the division, and probably most of the other QBs in the NFL, maybe outside of Josh Allen. But I mean, they both are very similar. I noticed that even watching sort of the highlights from the Raiders game. Like I mentioned, the one where Herbert got the ball off when he was getting like pulled backwards, and then had the other like sort of same flip the hip sidearm throw you see Mahomes always do, and he just drops it right in there, just slings it in there, really, not even like okay.
Hold on. This is good.
There was a good throw that he had that I saw in a highlight reel, actually, where Herbert it was a bit of a slant, but then Herbert threw it right in between the defenders into the hands of was it to Carter?
It was Allen. It was Allen.
Yeah,
it was Keenan Allen. Yeah. Well, and Mahomes had a similar throw to Kelsey, right over the top. I mean, they both just have like these ridiculous tight window throws, and it's just it's exciting to watch. At the same time, like I hate watching Herbert do it, just like I'm sure you guys hate watching Mahomes do it.
I love it, but I hate it because like when Mahomes is like completely horizontal and he still gets that ball off for like a 40-yard pass touchdown. 100%. I'm like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, he's like, dude, what's happening?
Right?
From going from like Alex Smith to Patrick Mahomes, it was awesome. Although Alex Smith was like good, he's good for what the Chiefs needed at the time. But same probably from going from lame duck Phillip Rivers, who was either throwing a touchdown or an interception. It's probably nice to go to Herbert, who can throw it 80 yards if he needs to, and actually move around. And
that's a big difference. I mean, the thing about it is I always feel like with Justin Herbert, there's just something different about this guy versus all the other quarterbacks that we've had. And what the thing is, though, with a lot of fan bases out there, they're jealous for what the Chargers have had because they've had Drew Brees, and then they went to Rivers forever, who I feel, look, I love Rivers, but at the same side, I think it was probably 3 years too late that we kept him. We probably should have got rid of him at some point because I just felt like he wasn't getting to that next level, or he was not getting those drives that we needed him and everything like that. But hey, it all worked out. We got Justin Herbert. I'm okay with that. But now we went to a new generational quarterback for us that we're going to have like another 10, 15 years potentially with this guy. So it's just a different type of quarterback. And I feel this could be one of our best quarterbacks, if our best quarterback as a franchise, as long as his trajectory keeps going this way. I think he could be one of the tops of.
So let's name the top 3 MVPs in the league where it stands maybe this season, right? You got Mahomes, Herbert, Allen. You think those would be the 3? That's I mean maybe Brady too.
At least from the week 1 narrative, that's the 3 I would put in there.
And
then very small sample.
I mean, everyone wants to give it to Josh Allen, and everyone wants to act like Josh Allen is the perennial number 1 QB in the league. I don't disagree that he's a real solid QB and definitely up there, but I think I would say Mahomes is the best, and Herbert's second, and Allen is third. But him and Herbert and Allen are very close.
And I would just argue that Rodgers won't do that well this year because he doesn't have anyone to throw the ball to, right? He's screaming. He's screaming at his wide receivers. I'm like, dude.
Well, the guy they drafted dropped that wide open touchdown.
That's right.
And then you saw him look at the coach I told you not to draft this dude.
Well, I mean,
I think it's crazy though. Oh, my bad. Sorry.
Well, I was just saying that they shouldn't have paid him so much money. Then he would have someone to throw to. Still, he probably still would have had Devontae Adams over there if he didn't get paid.
100%,
get that bag.
100%.
The thing I think's crazy though is when you look at the offseason for Rodgers and Mahomes, they both lost their number 1 target, number 1 weapon, number 1 target. But you didn't hear people saying, "Oh, the Packers aren't going to be good." Like the Packers aren't. But yet, everyone was talking about how they don't see the Chiefs' offense being as successful. You don't see how Mahomes is going to have the same success without Hill. But then you have these week ones where, is the polar opposite for each team. But you don't really see a whole lot of a whole lot of, I guess, national coverage on are the Packers in trouble? Because
Yeah, right.
I guess because it's Aaron Rodgers, but at the same time, I feel like he kind of gets way too much respect that he's actually earned in terms of actual success, on the field. So
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think bottom line though, it's going to really boil down to defense in this game, 100%, right? I just think whoever can put more pressure, get a few sacks, and what, 2 turnovers, guys? We thinking 2 turnovers wins it. Because look,
absolutely.
Yeah, we're gonna both teams are gonna score, right? They're gonna put points on the board, and again, I would say special teams right now is definitely in favor of the Chargers just because we have more continuity right now. Your punter is good, but you obviously have a new kicker. That's going to be an interesting situation too. So you're right. Alex, maybe a couple missed extra points. They have to go for it, go for 2 points. Maybe a couple of those don't convert. It could really change the game. So look, it's going to be exciting, guys. I mean, I sit back and I just keep looking at this and just going, oh my God. This was the one game I cared about. I mean, obviously I wanted to beat the Raiders, but this game was the game that I was more excited about than anything, just because I do feel like the Chargers they're ready to have a big season. And I mean, the Chiefs are the Chiefs, man. Hey, the Chiefs are the Chiefs until they're not, right? And they're always going to be there. They're always going to be in the conversation. They got Mahomes, man. That guy's a special player. So it's going to be exciting.
Well, I mean, the Chargers, have to. I mean, they got to beat KC if they want to get where they want to go.
100%.
I mean, if you guys want to, you almost have to beat them twice. So, but it's going to be a good game. Like I said, I think it's probably going to be the best game of the season in terms of viewership, just the overall vibe of it, and sort of the end result. Because I really think it's going to come. I mean, the last 4 or 5 games have come down to the last possession. So,
yep.
I don't see how this one's going to be any different, especially with sort of the retooling each team did. So
that last 5 minutes of the game is going to make all the difference.
Big time.
Yeah. So why don't we just do a round robin and give us our last thoughts on what we think we're going to see this game, and recap whatever you guys think specifically. Let's just give our kind of final thoughts. I know we've kind of gone a little over an hour here. We've gone through most of the questions in the chat right now, but Kyle, why don't we start with you? I know you listened to us, and you didn't obviously had a whole lot of time to talk, but what are your thoughts? We'll just kind of do a little round robin and we'll go from there.
You want like my score prediction or something like that?
No. Just round robin. What do you think? What do you think about the game? What do you think's going to win it? Where do you think we're going to be? And your general thoughts on the game.
I was just kind of thinking back to our schedule game or schedule video where we're like kind of figuring out who we're going to win, who we're going to like. This one is literally a 50-50 game for me.
Agreed.
Yeah. And so it's such a tight game. I was always a little worried still that Patrick Mahomes is going to be Patrick Mahomes, and
he is 100%.
And he's still going to be able to lead the team. And and they've actually showed that whenever Tyreek Hill has not been on the game, he still is this money man. So it's going to be a slugfest, hands down. And like I said, it's going to be within 3 points, maybe like a missed extra point or a missed 2-point conversion or whatever. It's going to be a very close game. I don't see anyone shutting each other down. But I mean, in fact, frankly, I hate shutdown games. The way the Bills and Rams.
Yeah, they're not fun.
They're not fun to watch.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fun to watch another team get pummeled by your other team, but it's just kind of like, okay, you're just like basically watching somebody just like get destroyed on the other side, So I don't know. I mean, I love those nail biter games, but I also
like watching a pitching duel.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly. Yeah.
0-0, top of the ninth.
Well, that's really cool.
This is cool, but
Anyways,
come on.
hit a damn home run.
Yeah, it's like, this is really exciting, guys. Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, case in point, obviously I'm going to be biased. Yeah, I want the Chargers to win. So I'm going to say 51% chance. 51%
Shocker.
chance. Shocker. Yeah,
I'm gonna put money on that right now. How much should I throw down? 10 grand? What are we thinking?
Actually, I was
Go
trying
ahead,
to
lock it in.
I was actually talking about that last night when I did my Madden simulation. I was like, you know what? I think I need to figure out how to actually put a bet on this game because it's like it's actually really good odds, like for a good payout. I was like, hey, let's do this. Let's make this work.
Keeps your 4.5. Right?
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, James, why don't we go to you, buddy?
Well, the big thing about this game to me is just how our D line works, and I'm going to preach this probably throughout the entire year. We always go back to our O line and our defense is going to where we're going to win our game. If our O line can hold off their defensive line, it's going to allow our wide receivers to do what they need to do. If our D line could get to the quarterback and make him scramble to make mistakes, that's going to dictate a lot of how this game operates. And so, that's to me is where the X factor is just going to be those two positions. Specifically, Sebastian Joseph Day is going to be one of those guys that's going to have to be the guy who could penetrate the middle of the O line to be able to create that round pocket around Mahomes. So he can't scramble or can't do anything. If Sebastian Joseph Day could basically do that to be able to create a middle pressure there, that's going to be a big, big game changer for this one. So, and that's kind of what happened a lot to the Raiders. And the Raiders O-line is terrible, by the way. And I was preaching that entire thing last time.
They're dog water.
Yeah, they're terrible. So, and we showed how bad they were, So, but I'll expect kind of that. That's where I expect the O-line and D-line are going to be the big factors of this game. Whoever wins those positions will generally win the game. So that's where I'm at. But, man, I can't wait for this game. This game's going to be phenomenal.
Yep. So, Alex, why don't we wrap with you, and then I'll do the wrap up, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah. Contrary to what you guys probably think, I think the Chiefs are going to win this one. I'm going to be a stalker for all of you.
Didn't expect you to say it, bud.
But, I just had to get that out there. Just had to get that one off my chest. But, like I said, I truly think that this is going to be, really hard fought offensive shootout type game. Like I said, I wouldn't be shocked if this ended up being like the best game of the year, just with how efficient and prolific really both offensive are. And then just sort of, I think the Chargers have a better defense on paper than the Chiefs do. It kind of evens out when it's always a divisional game because it's just sort of always they just somehow always seem to be really close no matter where sort of each team's talent is at. But for me, I think the biggest thing, obviously, like I said, the special teams could play a factor, but for me, the biggest thing is going to be the Chiefs offensive line versus the Chargers pass rush. And I don't anticipate them giving up 6 or 7 sacks like the Raiders did. But, if they can keep it to like 1, 1 or none, I'd say they're in a pretty good spot to be, successfully set up to win that. But, I think it's going to be real close, come down to the last possession. Like I said, like a 31-27 type score. Or, it's going to come down to someone just having the ball and making the play to get a field goal, really.
Yeah. I agree. I think, a couple of things we also didn't talk about. I just kind of remember this. So, Brendan Fehoko is on the practice squad now. We did recall Covington. Covington will be in the game, so he will be there to stop Patrick Mahomes and keep him in the pocket. So he's very good at run defense. So I'm kind of excited to see that. I'm loving the chat here, by the way. This is absolutely amazing.
I think chat's going AWOL right now.
This is great. I love it, dude. This is amazing.
We're getting loopy.
But again, I think you're right, guys. Like 100%, this game's going to come down to defense, man. I mean, which defense steps up? Which defense is really going to be there? Because you're looking at 2 prolific offenses. And I think it was whose question? Here we go. It was Toby's question here. And I'll tell you right now, Lombardi played way conservative.
Yep.
He needs to let it all hang out, in my opinion. All gas, no brakes, period.
Yeah.
Because that's what Andy Reid always does, right? I don't think he ever gets really conservative. Now, again, he's very – yeah, well, he can at times, right? But he doesn't put the foot on the brakes and go, let's play Marty ball and just run the ball, right? He still is going to run his offense. And so I felt like we got way too conservative across the board. So I want to see us be dominant on defense and be aggressive on offense. And I think it all work itself out, right? So, I mean, I'm just excited, guys. This game, I can't be more excited. I just can't, man. I don't know. I don't know.
Big game.
Actually,
Big game.
do we have anybody set up for the?
Excited.
What? Say again, Alex.
So it's gonna be a great Chiefs win. I'm real excited.
Oh,
I was just gonna say we maybe we should have you on our post game show, but yeah, I don't know about that now after that comment.
Yeah,
No.
Yep.
But, hey, we'll bring a coach defense on again. We'll bring him on, right?
yeah. There
positivity.
you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
No, but as always, guys, seriously, that was amazing. And seriously, Alex, thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it. You know,
Thanks,
and the chat was
Alex.
awesome today. You guys were so funny. I was dying. I was
Hey,
I was having a hard time not laughing the whole time.
No, I appreciate you guys having me on. Always a good time, and we play again. So I'm more than happy to come back and do this again, especially after we win this first one. So
Yeah, we'll see about that, though. We'll see about that, boy. I'll tell you what. I'm so excited. Hey, it's gonna be a good one. It's gonna be exciting. I'm excited. So,
Yep.
all righty, guys. As always, we're the Bolt Bros with our special guest, Alex. Bolt up, don't punt. You know what time it is.
Yeah, that's right, bro. All right, dude.
Let's get it.
Bolt Bros.
Bolt Bros. We out.
With Alex.
Wait.